What I really needed was to recreate myself, which means to bring something new into the world that has never existed before.
One of my favorite topics is business, buying and selling businesses, starting businesses. And today we have Domenic Rinaldi from K2 Advisor. He has a very unique value proposition for the business owner. He coaches buyers and sellers on how to prepare for buying or selling a business. So welcome, Domenic.
Hey, Terrance, thank you very much for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, very, very cool. I've met people that buy and sell businesses, and I know you've had a fair amount of experience doing that, but coaching someone to buy and sell a business is particularly interesting because I get a lot of questions about people that have businesses they don't like or they're ready to get out and they got to prepare to move out of there, or those that want to do the other side. They want to get into a business. And I know from our conversations, your suggestion is to look at buying one before starting one. So why don't we start there with a little background about how you ended up in this space?
So probably around 2004, I was looking for my next opportunity and deciding what I was going to do. And that's after, a long career in corporate America and running a couple of internet companies. And I decided it was time for me to own my own business. And so I weighed my options. Should I start something? Should I buy something? Should I partner with somebody? And at the end of the day, I decided that buying an existing business was really where my heart was. I didn't want to take the risk of starting from scratch, having to find clients, build my service, proof of concept. I just thought it could potentially take too long to get to where I wanted and needed to be. I had a train to pull. I had a young family at the time. And so my option was buy an existing business that had a track record, had ongoing revenues and cash flows, clients, trained employees, and see if I could bring my skills and my experiences to that business and take it to the next level. And that's what I did. I luckily found this business, acquired it, and here I am 15, 16 years later, and we've grown it to the largest small business M&A firm in Chicago, and it's been a tremendous run.
So you got it right in the first try.
As you know, it's not easy, right? The path of owning your own business can be fraught with all sorts of potholes. We've had to live through the Great Recession of '08, this pandemic, although it's interesting, this year will be our best year ever on the heels of 2019 being our best year. And we just shattered 2019. But it's had its ups and downs, but by and large, I am so happy I made this move to own my own business and really have personal and financial freedom.
Yeah, and you made a pivot in your business too. You were telling me about how you kind of created a new vertical of advice and guidance. I mean, everyone's in business is helping someone do something, but rather than cutting the deals, talk a little bit about K2 Advisors and how you're coaching. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah. So, the M&A firm where we really just solely focus on helping people buy and sell business has been around for 20 years. But over the course of that 20 years, and I've personally been involved in over 300 M&A transactions, the common theme that I've seen is that people just don't properly prepare for their transactions, whether they're buying or selling. Even when they think they've prepared and we talk to them about their plan, invariably they've missed some really key nuances or pieces of the process. And, I just decided that now is the right time to move over into that path and really try to help people be better prepared. I've seen too many examples of people coming to us at the last minute when they have to sell a business or their back is up against the wall and they've left money on the table or they haven't minimized their risks. And it's not a happy day when we have to do those transactions. And I think, oh my goodness, this person ran that business for 20 years. If they could have taken incremental steps along the way, and there would have been a much better outcome. And on the other side, the flip of that side, when you're going to acquire something, it's so easy to forget some of the key components of how to get a good transaction done. And, a little bit of pre-planning and the outcome can be so different. And so I really hope that on the K2 side, we can help more and more people be better prepared so that they have a great experience, whether they're buying or selling.
So, I mean, people are either gonna learn about you through buying or selling a business on the spot or preparing to do that. But in either case, there's mistakes. And usually I like to say, like, what are the nightmare mistakes that people make that destroy the value of their business or the ability to sell it at all?
Yeah. On the seller side, I start with so many owners don't take the time to even figure out what the true market value of their business is. If you own a home, somehow or another, you're always checking on the value of you're curious about what did that house around the corner sell for, and how does that compare to my house? And you always sort of have a beat on what your home is worth, or at least you have a good range.
Right.
So many people don't take that, basic step with their business. And you can't compare a manufacturing business to a distribution business. In fact, you can't compare two manufacturing businesses to each other because they could be run completely different. So understanding as a first step the value of your own business, the market value, is a really important step. And then beyond that, understanding what drives value up or down is really critical. And there are things that we refer to as key value drivers. And these are things that, taken in a silo can drive values up and down. And for example, I talk a lot about having a self-managing business. If you can have a business that largely operates without your direct involvement as the owner day in and day out, you've built a more valuable business. When you compare it against somebody who's running a business where they're involved in the sales effort or they're involved in critical pieces of process, value of that business goes down. And here's why. When you do get ready to transfer that business or sell that business, the buyer's going to look at the risks. And there's clear risk if you're so involved in the business as an owner in that transition, because if something happens to that owner in transition and they're so involved in the business, well, now the value of the business went down probably pretty dramatically. So for buyers, it's all about risk. And the more you're involved in the business as an owner, the lower the value of your business. And there's probably, Terrance, anywhere between 8 to 12 of these types of value drivers that we look at for every client and evaluate the business and combine that with their financial performance to come up with what is the true value of the business and where are the gaps.
Well, the penalties for not having that control level is significant, right? And I always tell people, if you have to be there to make the money, it's not a business, it's a job.
Correct.
And, so your options when you're the star of the team and you're the whole show, I think there's a lot of businesses like that. I've certainly seen a bunch, and to some regard, I'm guilty of it myself. I got sick. I was preparing for the ultimate transaction, and you talk about people needing to prepare for an event. Like, selling the business was least of my concerns. There was preparing for, getting sick and dying potentially, which is a whole nother form of preparation, but not doing either is so financially damning. Not forget about the regular issues and restrictions that come with it, but financially damning. And so what are some examples of what they could do to prepare?
Yeah, well, so Like I mentioned, get a value, get a market value. Understand what your business is worth in the marketplace today. 2, understand the value drivers of your business and where your business ranks for each of those value drivers, and where you can move the needle so that you can create more value. And any reputable firm, should be able to do that. We put people through that checklist, and we deliver the results of that. And then the other thing that I think is really important, and I can understand people not wanting to take this step, but I'll tell you it's so important, is we always test the liquidity of the business. And what I mean by liquidity is a bank willing to lend to a prospective buyer on that business at the value that we've ascribed to it. And that's critical because buyers across the board want to be able to bring leverage to that deal. Nobody wants to stroke a check for the full purchase price. And by the way, rarely do they. Right. Everybody wants to go out and get a loan, especially at today's interest rates. So is your business bank financeable? And if so, value of your business goes up just by the mere nature that somebody can go get a loan.
How would you bring that? I mean, that's obviously like staging the house. I hear you talking about these things you need to do for your business. It's like staging a house before you sell it, right? Get the shrubs right. Yep. Make sure it's clean. Yep. And making sure it's presentable. Yep. Talk about that. I've never heard that concept of all the things I've heard. So how would you go about approaching a bank about the lend?
So I'll tell you, we have a process. We have a process in our firm where we do the financial analysis, we do the value driver analysis, and then we do some research on who the prospective buyers are, which, by the way, is also critically important because the more buyers you have that might be in the marketplace for your business, that means the more leverage you're going to have. And so that could play a role in the value. And then the last piece is we package all of that up. And our firm works with about 18 banks, local, regional, national banks. We confidentially will bring a package to the bank and say, hey, this client's not ready to sell today, but if they were at this value, assuming the buyer is a qualified buyer, would you provide a loan at this value? And they'll say yes or no. They might give us some parameters. They might say, well, we would, but the seller would have to do this. The buyer would have to do that. So they're going to put some disclaimers on that. Look, that's like you said, that's staging before you might want to sell. Right. But it's another just key data point to understand, so that you have some comfort, because the alternative is, if you can't get a bank to finance that transaction, and the buyer's not going to write a check for the entire value, guess what's going to happen? You're going to get paid over some period of time. Yeah. That means the purchase price is at risk. Those future payments and the delivery of them could be at risk. And as an owner, you want to mitigate as many risks as you can, and that's an important one.
That's the dreaded earnout, right? The worst possible way to get out of a business, right? You gotta do things and get paid with all the drivers. Tell me a story.
Could be a seller note. Could be a seller note. Could be a contingent note. There could be other forms that future payment comes. But whenever there's a future payment, there's risk that payment doesn't happen, right?
Yeah, of course. That's interesting. Tell me a story that would make me want to cry. Do you have any of those stories where someone had X and didn't do what he had to do and ended up with way less than X? Or
yeah, actually, I cover this in one of my podcasts. I have a podcast, M&A Unplugged, and in one of the episodes, I talked to the daughters of an owner who had built a light manufacturing assembly business, and had really done an unbelievable job building this business. and had run it for a very long time. I think the business was started in the 60s. And the owner had done a tremendous job of building this business, but the owner was the business. I mean, he literally, he made all the critical decisions. And he had gotten diagnosed with terminal cancer. And it wasn't an immediate thing. He had 5 years. So he had time to really work on the business. And what I've always found sad and fascinating about this story is he had 5 years, and he was impeccable about his personal situation. He put all of his personal finances in order. He had everything buttoned up. His state from a personal perspective was buttoned up. But when it came to his business, he just couldn't find his way to doing the things that he needed to do to put that business in a good position for a transition. And one of his daughters was actually pulled back into the business to help run it. And the father passed away, and we were brought in to see if we could sell the business. And it was almost an overnight decline. We were brought in, we looked at the financials. It was a bit of a mess, but we thought we could find some buyers. When I tell you within 2 months that business just started to erode because he was no longer there, and he no longer was pulling the right strings.
Yeah.
We did get the business sold, but it got sold at a fraction of the value. And value aside, the toll that it took on his family was, I think, just a shame. One of his daughters wound up getting sick. I mean, the stress that they were under to try to get that business sold so it didn't fold and they could see their dad's legacy follow on.
Mm-hmm.
And it just makes no sense. He knew there was a date on the calendar, and he had the time, and he still didn't do the work. I think it's a cautionary tale. I think you should do this work almost day one when you start or buy a business. You should always have the exit in mind. Doesn't mean you need to pull the trigger. It just means you should know what you need to do.
That's the Covey, begin with the end in mind.
Yep.
How are you going to come out of this thing? I don't know if you saw the movie Moneyball. I'm sure you did, right?
Sure.
Yeah. So Billy Bean
Absolutely.
made a famous scene when he says, everybody's told at one time or another they're not going to be able to play the little boys game anymore.
Exactly.
Sometimes we're told at 12, sometimes we're told at 18, sometimes we're told at 38, but we're all told. Talk about the
exactly
date.
Right.
Everybody has a date. I mean, this is, as you know, Domenic, near and dear to my heart, because I walked into an emergency room perfectly normal like any other day, and within 7 hours was told I had 6 months to live, and I was dying of liver failure, and I had a business and employees and everything. So my date was coming, and it wasn't 5 years out, and it was still a scramble.
Yeah.
In 6 months, 5 years is like an eternity comparatively.
Yes.
So talk about the
Yeah.
date. Everybody has a date.
Yeah, look, the date from an owner's perspective is it could come at any time. Like in your case, the date, was a flip of the switch. You had a medical emergency, and now you needed to scramble to sell your business. That's the worst sort of scenario, and that could be a date. Another date could be you're presented with an opportunity. Somebody approaches you and says, "Hey, we'd like to merge," or "We've got this joint venture opportunity," or "We think we could do X, Y, and Z." And if you haven't done everything possible to maximize the value of your business, your piece of that joint venture or that opportunity isn't going to be maximized. And yet it may be a tremendous opportunity, and you may still do it, but you're going to do it, at a depressed value potentially. And so, there's an opportunistic date that could present itself. The other date that could present itself is, you're burnt out. You become disillusioned with running that business any longer. And I see 40-year-olds that hit burnout, 50-year-olds. I mean, it can happen at any time. They've been doing it for 20 years and they just can't do it anymore. And then there's obviously the retirement date, right?
Right.
You get to the point where you're just ready to retire. And that usually can lead to a little bit more of an orderly transition. But the other ones, they're going to be sprung upon you. And if you're not ready, you're leaving potentially chips on the table, or you're introducing risks you didn't need to have.
I'm going to ask you about your self-assessment, because what a lot of people are probably getting to know here is that there's a lot of variables in selling a business, and we could never fit them into a short show. And when it relates to such an important asset, which is probably the most important asset in any business owner's life, you want to get help. You want to get coaching, you want to get mentorship, but you have an assessment that I want to drive people to at the end of the show. But I want to talk about something that's particularly of interest to me is someone like yourself that had a very, very mature, very established traditional business, pivots in the middle of your life, not at the beginning, right? You pivoted to a podcast and a coaching model. Very untraditional path for someone with your skill set and expertise. I want to know a few things. Number one, why'd you do it? And two, tell me how you like it, because it's a different world.
So the why I did it, great question, great series of questions. I've built largely a self-managing business. I can't say completely, but I really do have largely a self-managing business. I have some tremendous people who've been with me now for a long time. They're very, very skilled at M&A transactions. They know how to get deals done. And so about 3 years ago, I pulled myself out of direct deal making. I get involved when the team needs me, or they pull me in, or they need my expertise. But by and large, my team really can do the transactions without my involvement. And I had this idea that we could do more and give back and help people in a different way. The podcasting thing, quite frankly, I did it on a lark, and I thought, okay, maybe we want to help people prepare. How do I move the needle on preparation without, having it be, self-serving on the M&A side? And I thought, look, let's just give people information. Let's be a free flow of information. Let's bring on experts. Let's bring on previous clients and let them share their stories. And I was presented the opportunity of podcasting, and June of 2019 we launched. And I have to tell you, what a tremendous gift podcasting has been. I love it. I love the people I meet. I love hearing the stories. I love having the opportunity to sit down with folks and be a guest on a show like yours and get to know you and meet you. I mean, it's just been it's been a gift that keeps on giving. And I think in the process, we're really helping people because we're giving them, really good, valuable content so they can be better prepared. And then the pivot for the new business was just going full circle with the podcast and wanting to help people. And now the new business is all about, for folks who need the extra hand and help, extending that and getting people, some direct coaching, group coaching, as well as one-on-one coaching to help them with whatever their event is, preparing for a sale, preparing to buy something. And for me, I'm completely energized. I had run my business for 15 years. I had been involved in over 300 M&A transactions, been there, done it. And for me, this has been a complete invigoration. I'm so excited about, the new things that we're doing. I mean, it is a start from scratch, but it's been a ton of fun.
It's impressive. You're reminding me of a friend of mine that was a very established doctor. And at the end of his career, instead of practicing medicine, he went and taught at Harvard. He just loved it. He said, I just want to teach. You know, I
Wow.
know a lot of things I want to teach and give back. So he kind of reinvented himself like you have,
Yeah.
which is encouraging for a lot of midlife people like us that, I'm in my second career too. Like I did the same thing you're doing. I could easily have gone back and did traditional and made very, very good money very fast, like easy, like flipping pancakes. And it was a grind, making the change, but it's so cool because I could clearly tell just from our interactions earlier that you're on the other side of the hard work. Now you're starting to get the fruits off the tree. That's super cool. Yeah, I love to see that. Particularly, the only reason it was made available to you, Domenic, is you eat at your own restaurant. You're a client. I call it client zero. Like you're your own best client. You did all the stuff you teach on. So you could have done this. You could have gone off and went on a mission trip because you had it right. That's really, really powerful.
Took me a while to get there. It took me a while to take my own medicine, and practice what I preached, but finally did get there. And I love where we're at.
Yeah, then it's one of the nice things about being in a situation where you see a lot of life's events in front of you because your clients are experiencing divorce, lawsuits, tax liens, sickness, trauma, drama, kids getting, kids having their mental health problems, and like there's such a stable of those things, and every single time it affects your business.
Yep.
Because you're not your A player. How do people get a hold of your company, K2 Advisors, and maybe if they're more active, Sun Acquisitions? But what's the call to action on that assessment? That sounds like something that would be a first step for anybody.
So if you go to our K2 Advisor website, which is K2Adviser.com, if you go to that website, there's a free resources tab, and on that tab we've got a number of free resources. Two of the resources, if you're an owner of a business and you want to understand how ready you might be for an exit. And look, whether you're ready to sell today or not, you should understand your readiness. It takes less than 7 minutes. It'll deliver back to you an immediate score between 0 and 100, and we'll email you the questions and the answers so you can see, you'll be able to discern by the types of questions we're asking where the gaps might be, right?
Right.
And conversely, if you're a buyer and you want to know how ready you are to buy, similar assessment. It'll take less than 5 minutes to take that assessment, give you an immediate score, and we'll email you the results. There's also a couple of free ebooks there about the major pitfalls people face when buying and selling, so things like that. And it won't take a lot of time, and I think you'll get a
Is your internet working? Oh, I got you back yet? He just froze right in the middle of it. It's a good interview too, but he's pretty bright too. This guy. All we literally got to do is say it won't take a lot of time, and after that, I could probably actually close it out. If you're ever thinking about buying a business or selling a business,
Terrance,
It happens.
sorry about that. I don't.
All you got to do, well, we can edit that, obviously. Just it's just you're right on the part where it won't take a lot of time. That's if you start with that sentence, that's about exactly where you froze up.
Oh, so you got most of it then, right?
I got to at the end. He said it won't take a lot of time, and then he froze up. I don't know what you said after that.
Okay,
I could probably end it, but
I'll do that.
just say it won't take a lot of time. It's easy, and we'll send you the results, and then I'll close it out.
Got it. So it won't take a lot of time. You'll get immediate feedback, and I think it will really help you understand, how prepared you are for whatever the event is that you're looking at.
Wow. Awesome. Very impressive, super powerful transformation as a business owner, mature business owner. I love seeing that because I prescribe to the process of learn, earn, and return. And I'm sure that you're getting a lot of all that right now with the way you structure yourself. So Domenic Rinaldi, and I want to thank you. The link to the assessment will be in the show notes. Thanks for coming with us today.
Hey, Terrance, thank you so much for having me.